As for today, the agenda is, pretty quick. There's an update for Javelin, just introducing us, our product lifecycle solutions, what electrical solutions we have. We'll look at the demonstration for PCBworks, and then talk about next steps, and, keep the floor open for questions after. So getting right into it, Javelin Technologies, you all know us. Most of you are our customers. But, if you don't know, we have expanded quite a bit in the last few years, and we are across the country. What does that mean for you is we have longer hours of support. We are closer to you, so we can help you where you need it, when you need it. And, our people are certified across the board. The idea that Javelin works with is, of course, all customer-based, helping you work with different parts of the solution, people with onboarding, training, technology to make sure that you have the right technology to work with, and trained, of course, taking it into the process side of things, where we are helping you take the technology and the people and make sure that they are all working together very well. And of course, the final goal where you really make money is manufacturing, to help you use the technology correctly, help you get the right documentation together so that you can ramp up manufacturing pretty quickly. As an electrical solution, we have a couple of solutions. PCBworks we're going to take a look at today. Most of you already know about SolidWorks Electrical. It is, again, a highly collaborative environment for working with electrical design and mechanical design. So that's one part of the electrical piece. And of course, we are talking about today would be PCBworks. Let us know, contact us if you need to learn about how we can help you with SolidWorks Electrical. But in the meantime, it is PCBworks, and more than me, I think it would be best for Lawrence to talk about it. But before we start going into too many things, let's have our first poll question, just to understand what you guys use today. It would be great to know, so that we can understand where you guys are coming from. And Lawrence, I'll let you talk about PCBworks.
Yeah, thank you, Sunil. I just want to just give a bit of a preamble here to the technical demonstration, as that's really the highlight. But I want to give everybody a bit of perspective on where these products, I should say, where this new product is coming from, and really how this fits into the portfolio of Altium products. So just to give everybody a sense, Altium's been in the PCB design space for about 30 years, and typically having really one marquee product, and that product for the past really recent history, and I mean it's 20 years, has really been Altium Designer, sometimes known as ProTel, so a name we formerly used. In any case, if we look at the design process today, or really product development, and what the market space is demanding, and what they're really looking for is a unified product experience. Excuse me. So in other words, no longer do the end users of the products that everybody here is developing, are they being judged singularly by the industrial design, its look, its feel, its touch, and likewise no longer are they being singularly evaluated and judged on its electronics, bells and whistles. It's really that overall product experience. Now, if we look at the traditional design process, that's really at odds with making the design changes necessary in order to optimize that balance between form and electronic functionality. And that's really the genesis of PCBworks. So what PCBworks is a singular design environment, so this would be schematic to PCB, but tightly linked in real time now directly with the SolidWorks environment. So no longer are you penalized for making those optimizations. And one great example of where there's tremendous amounts of time and money and efforts to be saved would be when we look at the cost of a moderately complex PCB, that being about $8,929. And so it doesn't take too many of these. If we can save one or two of these prototype spins, there's a significant amount of money to be saved. So what you're going to see today is really just a quick example of the schematic in PCB, which, by the way, is based on Altium's 30 years of PCB experience. So it is a professional workflow. Those of you that are familiar with Altium Designer will be exceedingly familiar with the workflow that is in PCBworks. It is basically identical to what's in Altium Designer. And just like what's made us famous with Altium Designer, our claim to fame with PCBworks, aside from the real-time interaction with the SolidWorks environment is this concept of really being easily, being able to easily manage your design data. So what we say is, with Altium products, really what sets them apart is this ability to make, propagate, and most importantly document design changes, and now that extends in real time to the SolidWorks environment. Now, just give you a sense of who this product is really targeted for. I'll say right out of the gate, if you're already an Altium Designer user, this would not be your product. Although it is the same workflow, it is not completely bidirectionally compatible with Altium Designer file formats, number one. Number two, it is a different user interface. So there would be a new learning curve associated with PCBworks, as well as obviously your legacy data is not fully supported. Most of it is, but a lot of it isn't. That said, we also did develop and release simultaneous with PCBworks an MCAD plugin to Altium Designer that enables all of you guys already using Altium Designer to get this exact same real-time collaboration with SolidWorks. So as we go through the presentation today, if you're already an Altium Designer user and you like what you see as it relates to this back and forth with SolidWorks, know that that capability is 100% available to you, and also available to you via Javelin. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Nate and show you the good stuff.
You should be seeing me here in just a second. And as Lawrence was saying, PCBworks is a new product, but Altium's really not a new company, and they've taken their 30 years of design experience in the ECAD industry and applied it directly to PCBworks here. And that'll be evident in the unified design environment. So it's really everything you need to complete a professional quality PCB. Of course, you're going to have your schematic editor, as well as your PCB layout editor, and of course your library management, your symbol editor to create schematic symbols, as well as footprint editor for footprints, of course. And then you'll have everything else you'll need, version control capabilities, mixed signal simulation. You'll notice that we have this new ribbon interface here in PCBworks, which has come incredibly popular in the industry these days. You'll notice as I flip through my different editors here, all of the commands in the ribbon will change based on which editor I'm currently in. And you can really flip through these editors and these ribbon menus from left to right to complete an entire PCB project. You'll have all of your common placement commands here in the home menu, and some more advanced tools in the tools menu. And then when you're ready to create your Gerbers and outputs, you'll find those in the outputs menu. One really nice feature that you get with PCBworks is access to the Altium Content Vault. And inside here we have over 400,000 components right now. And I'll show you a couple things that you get with all of these components. Let me jump into something everybody's familiar with, maybe Texas Instruments here. And then I'll just pick the very first components. So of course you're going to get your schematic symbol, as well as a PCB footprint, and even a 3D body or an extrusion, as well as all of your associated parameters, and of course links to data sheets. And a really nice feature is you can actually have a real-time link to supplier data here. So what we have here is a real-time link into tons of different distributors' databases, and we can actually view their pricing and availability for all of our different components in our content vault. This is really nice so that you can pick the right component the first time, something that's available in stock, and you don't have to worry about reworking your design later because something might not be available. And you can even attach this information to your own components that you create yourself or that you import from another program, just by adding a supplier link right to your symbol. But I'll go ahead and jump into some of the MCAD collaboration because I know that's what everybody's really interested in. And I have a copy of SolidWorks here. I've just been kind of creating a basic board shape for a stepper motor driver. So it'll just kind of follow the outline of this body here so that it'll mate nicely to the bottom of it. And I want to take this board shape that I've created here on the SolidWorks side, and I want to push that over to PCBworks. Before I do that, I should explain that there's really three parts to PCBworks. There's the PCBworks application that we were just looking at. And then on the SolidWorks side, we have the collaboration add-in here. And you'll see that on the right side of the screen. You'll notice I have a nice history of comments in here, so anytime anybody's made a change to this board, they can put exactly what they've done, and it'll show the date and the time along with the user that made the change. I'm just using a default ECAD user and an MCAD user, but of course you can create as many users as you like in here, and this is great for accountability. I'm going to go ahead and push this board shape over to the collaboration server, and that's the third part. So sitting in between this SolidWorks add-in and the PCBworks application is what we call the collaboration server or the vault. And that's where all your differencing and synchronization will happen. As soon as I push this design, it's going to be uploaded onto that vault server where I can download it on the PCBworks side. I'll go ahead and do a push button and entering in a comment here. Then I'll go over to PCBworks now, and I'll open up just a blank PCB document here. And since this is in the project, as soon as I open this and view my collaboration panel, I'll be able to see a notification here. And the notification matches exactly what I've entered on the SolidWorks side. And I can go ahead and view that right away. And then I can click through all of the proposed changes. I just have one here. You'll see a nice animation of exactly what to expect. There won't be any surprises here. I'll go ahead and accept that board outline. All right, very good. Now my board here in PCBworks matches exactly what I've created on the SolidWorks side. So there won't be any confusion later why it does not fit the enclosure. And I'd like to start laying out this board by placing my components and doing the routing on it. I've already completed, or just about completed, a schematic here. It looks like I need to finish a couple wires and add another capacitor here. Of course, this is a full-fledged schematic editor, so it'll be very easy for me to wire up and complete the schematic. And then I'll place a component here from my library, and I can rotate it around very easily and wire it up. And then I want to hook this up to a global ground port here. All right, looks good. So now I can take this completed schematic and I can push all of these components over onto my PCB documents. I can do that using our powerful engineering change order. And in here you'll see a list of all the proposed changes to synchronize my schematics with my PCB. It's going to be adding these components for me. I should designate that one, but we'll be okay. And then it's going to add all of the nets that I wired up, and then even some design rule classes here that'll make my design rules a lot easier. And I can create a report of these changes, save that for my records, but I'll go ahead and just execute these. All right, looks good. Now I have all of my footprints laid out to the right side of my board, complete with those rat's nest or connection lines. And I'll just quickly place these around my board so I can show you them being transferred to SolidWorks and the true bidirectional collaboration capabilities. All right, so just like I did on the SolidWorks side, I want to push this over to my collaboration server, and I can do that just by hitting the push button and entering a comment here. Now on this board, I've only attached step models to these footprints, but a really nice feature in PCBworks is actually the ability to attach your own solid parts or a pair of solids right to your footprints. And you can do that just by attaching a 3D body and then selecting the file type that you want to put on it. And the solid part is really nice because you can use those native solid parts that you've created on the SolidWorks side. But since I've just attached step models to these, when I push them over, they'll actually be converted over into solid parts for me. And I'll show you that right now. So I'm going back here onto SolidWorks, onto my PCB assembly. And you'll notice I have a notification here from PCBworks. I'll go ahead and view those changes. And then I can see that same great animation that I saw on the PCBworks side. So I'll see a preview and I'll know exactly what to expect. No surprises here. Go ahead and just check all of those and hit the accept button. And you'll notice my feature tree on the left being populated with all of my different components there. And then I could take this assembly and I could attach it to another assembly, say my enclosure or my housing for it, and then I could do any fitment or clearance checking on it. Perhaps some of these headers, maybe they have to fit a critical hole in the enclosure. I could really easily take care of that right here on the SolidWorks side just by moving these components right where they need to go. And then I can push those changes right back to PCBworks. And I'll switch back to PCBworks, and you'll notice I'll have a notification here. I'll go ahead and view that. To check out that preview again. All right, looks okay. I'll go ahead and accept those changes. And it matches exactly what I've moved on the SolidWorks side now. So we have some really powerful routing capabilities here in PCBworks. We have differential pair routing, interactive, multi-routing, complete with conflict resolution modes like hug and push and shove. I won't spend any time doing the routing myself and bore you guys with that. I'll just go ahead and run the auto router on this real quick so I can show you the copper exports. I'll just try and reduce some of these rat's nest crossovers to make it a little easier on the auto router. Okay, this should work for us. I'll go ahead and just run that right here from my tools menu and then the auto router. And I'll just use a default 2-layer board strategy here so it'll place vias for me and actually route on the bottom layer as well. And I didn't place the keep out so it routed outside the board, but I can quickly fix that. I won't spend too much time and bore you guys with this. I'll go ahead and just export this out in a parasolid format so I can show you this great copper export options that we have. I can do that right here from the Outputs menu. I'll just go ahead and put it on the desktop for now. Here you'll see we can export a selection of copper, copper for certain layers, or all of the copper, including the pads and the component primitives. I'll go ahead and do that now. And I didn't place an origin, but it'll do that for me automatically. Of course, I can place my own from the home menu. Okay, looks good. Go ahead and open that up in SolidWorks and take a look at it. It's made a nice small file. It's less than 9 megabytes here for this design. I've tried to do this before with step models, and it's created these huge files, and they've taken forever to load in SolidWorks, and they usually end up just crashing the program before they load up. But I've had really good luck with these parasolids. You'll notice when it comes in my features tree, it'll have all of my nets listed, and nested inside there will be all of the primitives associated with the nets, like the tracks, pads, and vias. Go ahead and make this transparent so we can check out the copper inside. This is perfect if you want to do any kind of thermal analysis or simulation on it. You'll see on this features tree all of my different nets here. That's just a quick demonstration of some of the capabilities of PCBworks. I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Sanu for any questions.
Thanks, Nate. That was great. I'm sure everybody got a great overview of what PCBworks can do. So as next steps, as we already mentioned, next steps are technical questions or sales questions. Do you want to figure out what it is? What will it take to get that in your hand? We have PCBworks trials that we can do, a couple of weeks to get your hands on it and make sure that you completely see the benefit of it. And at the end of the day, everything comes down to ROI, so we can have that discussion. As Lawrence already mentioned, people are saving tons of money or spending tons of money on prototypes, and this can help you stave off even a few, and it pays out for itself. Having said that, that was our presentation for today, and we are done 4 minutes early, which means we have lots of time to answer questions. I'll keep myself on mute, and Lawrence, myself, or Nate, any of us can answer questions.